Hello fellow Gunters. With the Akuma update a few months ago, Gunlance elemental damage got a huge buff while most shelling attacks got nerfed, including charged shells and the burst fire part wyrmstake full blast. This paired with Artian Gunlances getting buffed elemental values and its shelling to slightly strong made the meta shift to elemental Gunlances. Now with the introduction of talismans and arch-tempered duna armor in the later updates, I need to take a look again and check if this is still true. Talisman's biggest impact is that now we can slot in up to 4 in a great roll and 5 in a god roll skill points that enable ridiculous stuff like having full attack boost 5+ points in focus or offensive guard. Gunlance shelling has the particular thing that grows in power more than any other weapon when it gains attack. Other weapons have their attacks diminished by hit zones, but every single point of damage in Gunlance goes through your overall damage output. Both offensive guard and attack boost also only benefits the attack of the Gunlance and do nothing for the elemental part. I'm going to compare an ice Gunlance with 3 attack upgrades versus Gark. 3 attack is not the perfect roll, so to simulate it I'm going to use some demon powder that gives you plus 10 attack only in the ice Gunlance. To tip the scale a bit towards elemental damage, I'm slotting the Artian with ice attack 3 and I'm using burst 4. Burst, besides buffing attack, also buffs elemental damage, with each point being worth 20 extra elemental value. The amulet I'm using is a regular attack boost 3/1 with 1 decoration that is good for getting attack boost 5 in both Gunlances. Finally, the test is going to be conducted in the training dummy. This greatly benefits the most elemental builds because it has a 30 zone for all elemental damage. With all this bias toward the Ice Artian, we see it doing near 1100 damage on each wyrmstake full blast. That is truly nice, and then 870 for each wyvern fire. That gives us a total of 3980 damage on the combo. Now same with Gark without the demon powder, and we see how ironically that each wyrmstake full blast do 850 damage, but then each wyvern fire hits for an amazing 1100 damage. For the total damage, it is a virtual tie of 3908 versus 3980 damage on the Ice Gunlance, with the Ice Gunlance wyrmstake full blast doing the same damage than the wide Gunlance wyvern fire. As I have said over and over, this test is very skewed to favor the normal elemental Gunlance because in real hunts you aren't going to find zones of 30 easily, normally 20 or 25 with 30 maybe when the zone is wounded. Also, there is the factor that arch-tempered and 9 stars monsters are a lot harder to stagger and trip and makes landing your wyrmstake combos a lot harder. Wyvern fires are a lot easier to land because you can use fast ones after perfect guards, regular wyrmstakes or focus strikes, and aren't diminished by the monster hit zones and can be much more easily buffed by potions or other sources of attack like the evade mantle. About burst fire, we can see here how a wide burst does 105.6 damage per shell, 316.8 in total. While with normal Gunlance we are getting 47.5 per shell for 332, this is almost a tie. But Gark is not the strongest at burst fire, with Cornpopper being able to hit over 400 damage per burst. With all this data, I can't determine a clear winner for one or the other. Elemental Gunlance has a clear edge when you can hit awesome hit zones with wyrmstake full blast over and over, but its performance will greatly diminish the moment you stop hitting these zones or the monster don't allows you to freely spam wyrmstake full blast. Wide has an edge on the other hand, for the situation is less than the ideal one. Shelling damage don't cares about the hit zones of the monster, and you can use focus 3 with charged shells for getting 2 full gauges after 3 salvos, so you can spam wyvern fires even against the strongest monsters with the smallest windows. Wyvern Fire also has a big synergy with Offensive Guard because the combo of Perfect Guard into Wyvern Fire that allows you to get the full effect on both Wyvern Fires if you get them. My feeling is that you will see Elemental Gunlance used a lot on speedruns as still the optimal choice, but for the general player I feel that wide is the way to do because speedruns are rare to reproduce in your usual hunt. Also, focusing in wide allows you to just use a single Gunlance for every monster instead of having to roll multiple artisans with 4 or 5 attacks. But I'm not going to deny that elemental Gunlances are optimal if you got the time or resources and the objective of getting the best possible time, while wide users are people who just want to save hours of grinding for Artians just to save a few seconds if any. As a final note, I have to say that all I'm saying also should apply to long Gunlances that play exactly like normal Gunlances right now. The best long Gunlance is Leja for Thunder Element. That is great not only because the free thunder you get from the built-in skill and by having offensive guard included, but also because you don't have to do Artian for it. With Ice and Fire Artians, Gark for Dragon and Leja for Thunder, you can convert the weakness of almost any monster in the game. And for the rest, focus in Wyvern Fire. I'm kinda happy with this result in that there is still reasons to use elemental Gunlances after all these buffs, while being generic barely is going to hurt your times. I want to dedicate my next video to break down the differences between the three top wide Gunlances, Gark, Artian and Cornpopper. All three Gunlances have pros and cons and would like to elaborate into it. But this is all for today. Thanks for watching.